So, welcome today, everyone, for 7 ways to grow your business, and particularly focusing today on retail and hospitality services, which we recognise completely is the most troublesome industry, or certainly should say at least one of the most troublesome industries right at the moment in this area, as we're facing some of the challenges, particularly around some of the regions of Australia where we have lockdowns going on at the moment. My name's Tim McCarthy, and I'm one of the directors here at Sage Business Group, and today I'll be your moderator. So for those of you who haven't used Zoom before, I think we're probably all very familiar with Zoom and we know how Zoom works. But for those who haven't, a couple of quick settings. We've got the audio settings here, which is to select and test your speakers if you're having any challenges there. You can always submit questions via the Q&A button, and we'll get those as we go through. And we hope this doesn't happen, but if you want to leave the meeting, you just got to click the button to leave the meeting. We'd love to see you stay though. That'd be our preference. I'd like to introduce you now to our lead presenter today, Michael Osborne. Michael's my fellow director here at Sage Business Group and holds the key roles as CEO of our business. So he's been the overseer of the transformation of our business over particularly the last 8 to 10 years, and before that. Michael takes pride in the way he operates, and particularly in the way that he deals with businesses who are going really well, but also having challenging times. Part of that challenge is he's taken on the role over the last, I'm going to guess here and say it's about 7 years, but he might correct me, as the president of the Summary Business Association, which really does deal with a lot of retail businesses who are facing the genuine challenges of how do I deal with rents, how do I deal with customers and the like. So business association and retail have an intrinsic link. Michael's been president of that now for that lengthy time. And so today's focus, though, is going to be exactly on that, on retail and hospitality businesses. You get insights into what Michael's seen, what he's experienced, and also pass on some of his wisdom acquired over those years. So with that all said, Michael, welcome to you, and we'll pass it over to you to take us through the next session.
Yes, thanks, Tim, and thank you everyone else for being online and taking the time to be here today. Today is going to be a pretty high-level adaptation of our 90-minute to 2-hour session that we normally do in person, but that hasn't happened for a while, so it is going to be high-level. But I want you to take away from that you know your business best. So this session is designed to get you thinking about your business. Initially, I'd just like to kick things off with some wise words from Thomas Jefferson. And for those who maybe can't read it, or you're listening in the car or something, I'll read it for you. If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. Now, he uttered those words 230 odd years ago, and they're as true today as they were back then. And this session today is about challenging you to do something different in your business so you can get the results that maybe you once had pre-COVID, but it is about just challenging you where possible to make some changes. First challenge is I'd really like everyone to be able to read that phrase, replacing the word you with the word I. So I'll go through it with you now. If I want something I've never had, I must be willing to do something I've never done. When you start talking in the I, you actually take a bit more ownership. Okay, so today, we're going to go over a fair bit. I just wanted, before we do get stuck into it, just say that this information and this educational webinar is pretty general in nature and in no way substitute for tailored advice specific to your needs, because every business is different. So every business operator is different. They have very similar characteristics in some degree, but get specific assistance in relation to your business. One of the biggest things we see quite regularly, and it creeps into our business as well, is that a phrase called FTI, failure to implement. We must be writing our actions down or our goals down, things we need to do, our critical drivers, because do not trust them to your mind. There's so much else going on at the moment. So to avoid failure to implement, please write things down. And that applies to today as well. So today, we're going to go through a couple of things. We're going to look at, it is up to you. You have to make the choice to change in the environment that we're in at the moment. We're going to look at developing a roadmap and a dashboard for your business. We'll then get into the 7 ways to grow your business. And Tim will actually show you a worked example, which demonstrates how you can make seemingly small adjustments, but those small adjustments, the compound effect of them is profound not only on the bottom line, but your cash flow, your morale of the team. So small changes can significantly impact the bottom line. And then we'll finish off with accountability time. That's when you have to decide what action you're going to take as a result of coming along today. If you've got any questions, please just pop them in the chat box there. And if we can answer them as we go, great. If not, we'll look at them when we get to the end of the webinar. So we have been through a lot recently, and looks like it's going to continue for a little bit longer. And for some of us, this pandemic has had a major impact on the way we conduct our business. So there's reasonably likely that we're going to need to make some changes in our business. The change won't just happen. It won't happen on its own. You have to make the choice to change. Now, and we get that change in this environment, sometimes it's forced on us, and especially in the retail and hospitality industry, it has been. But you're in control of how you respond to this crisis that we're in. Now, there's generally 5 steps to change, or you moving to choose to change. The first is that you must be aware you need to change. For most of us, it's unlikely that our business has been able to continue as normal in the last 18 months, and changes need to be made. You must be aware of it. The next step, you've got to accept that you need to change. Speed of the team, is the speed of the leader. So if there's going to be change, you're going to have to drive it. And for some of us who've been in business for longer than others, that may not be easy. We've been doing things the same way up until 18 months ago. So it's not going to be easy to accept that we need to change, but likewise, the alternative of not changing, it won't be easier either. So we might just need to accept that. Now, if you have accepted that, you need to take action. So I said before, failure to implement. What steps do you need to take to enable change? Most people get stuck here. We might respond to immediate actions or crises, because we're in that, as I said, crisis mode. But sometimes we fail to take the actions required to make substantial change and sustainable change. And to make sure you do take that action, maybe some accountability is required. Now, being held accountable by someone independent really does help to make things happen. We know we live and breathe it ourselves here, Tim and I. We get someone to hold us to account. And finally, take the time to acknowledge the change that you have put in place. If you've got a team, bring them on the journey. If you haven't got a team, acknowledge it yourself. But you've got to give yourself a pat on the back when you start to make that change and as you achieve significant milestones. So that's great. We've thought, no worries. I accept that we need to change and I'm going to do something. But before we do that, we've actually got to get an idea of what our plan is. Where is our business right now? And for some of us, that may be a completely different spot to what it was 18 months ago. Where is your point A? That's where your business now. COVID-19 means that maybe we're further away from our destination than we first thought about it. And that's our point B. Now, we talk a lot about point A and point B in our business and when we're dealing with clients, but we talk about another concept. And Tim's actually championed this. So I might just get Tim to talk about the process that we go through our point A and point B with our clients. Tim?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. So we talk a lot about now, where, how. And fundamentally, it's the same as point A and point B, but we think this actually really resonates. So now, what is my position now? That's a known. What do we know? So we know how much money we have in the bank. We know what type of business we run. We know what our daily needs are financially. We know how old our children are. Then we talk about where. So pick a time frame, whether it be 6 years, 8 years, 3 years, whatever works best for you. Might be 20 years, although the longer, the trickier it gets. And say, where do I want to be? Where do I want to be in 18 months' time? Where do I want to be in 24 months' time? Now, right now, some of those answers are very difficult to make. But the reality is that if you create a where and you know where you are now, the how's a bit in between. The how is, how do we navigate through that? What changes do we have to make? Through this time, we've heard the word constantly pivot, pivot, pivot. Well, really, all it is just moving around to try to get the how to reach that where, or at least to protect your business. So in that sense, the how is where we work really closely with our clients on what makes a difference to take them from their position now to the destination that they see themselves, which is their where.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, and we're going to look at some a method to look at the how in a little while, but that now where how is really important. We'll actually cover that in a visual too. So if you know where you are now as a result of COVID, and hopefully you've had some idea of where you want to get to, you probably need to revise a plan. Now, if the impact of COVID on your business has been minimal, look, it's just likely that you just need a tweak to your business plan, assuming you've already got one. If you haven't got one, please get one. You need to have you wouldn't go on a journey or a holiday without some sort of plan. Why do we go on our journey of going into business without a plan? If your business, though, has been really or seriously impacted by COVID, then maybe we need to do more than tweak the business plan. We need to go into what we call a business recovery plan. And that's where we revise our budgets, and with the I suppose the want to reduce pressure on our business's cash flow. We need to look at whether additional finance is recommended is needed in the short term. Are there some grants that we can access to get us through? So looking at that plus your budget and your break-even analysis, and Tim's going to jump into a budget in a minute, but that's maybe what we have to go back and do as a business recovery plan. You'll need to establish also, what are your most critical KPIs to monitor, key performance indicators, to monitor. Identify what opportunities you've got out there, your vulnerabilities, your threats, and your critical challenges. So I said before about a budget, and that is critical. So Tim, would you like to go through a really basic way that we approach budgets that maybe our listeners can take away and implement pretty well straight away?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is very high level, but they'll give you an indication of what's going to happen in building a budget. So in this example, it just starts with the premise that we know what we've currently got. So that might be the starting point. That might be the first project, is to understand you are now. And that's the old in this picture here. So now this business is having a profit of $150,000. But we know there's challenges at the moment. Most businesses, we talk about how can we grow, but maybe the challenge is actually how do we maintain, how do we actually hold firm. So in this example here, the profit actually target is now dropped to 130,000. We've faced reality, so new challenges, new ways to operate the business. So let's target their profit of 130, we were at 150. Now that might swim against the tide, but maybe that's the reality at the moment. Let's say our overheads used to be $350,000. Well, we've scripted and saved and the like, and we look at a budget and say we can bring that down to 325,000. So we're building up from the bottom here. We're going in a way that says, how can the business serve me the best way it needs to serve me? We work up further. That means our gross profit we require is 455,000 rather than 500,000. Okay, so you see some light at the end of the tunnel. Our gross profit margin was 39%. We can't realistically at this moment just expect to turn it around overnight. So for the purpose of the budget and to be conservative, let's keep that at 39%. Let's say we still got, that's the margin we're going to make on our sales. In this budget, that would tell us If our sales were to be 1.16 million and previously had been 1.28 million, then we're going to achieve these targets. So we've adjusted our targets to suit the external conditions, and we've built up to see what sales do I need to make to achieve those targets. And that's very, very high level. That's a starting point. Then you want to think, okay, that's all well and good, but how do we do this? What's the practical implication? How do we actually apply that? We talk about a dashboard. So it's all well and good to have big numbers, 1.28 or 1.16 million of revenue, but a dashboard. What I can measure, I can improve. What I can measure, I can change. And so what can we measure around a dashboard? So when you're driving a car, you're looking at the dashboard, and again, apologies, I always apologize to mechanics here because I make a fool of myself talking about cars. But when you're driving a car, we look at the KPIs. We look at how fast am I going? What's the temperature? How far have I got to empty the car to run out of fuel? Gives the indication. It's not precise, but it gives us an indication of whether we're on track or off track. Same in business. You don't have time to be looking at your numbers every day. We know that. So what you do have time for is a dashboard. And a dashboard gives you some figures that tell you if you're heading in the right direction on that right path towards that where point or the point B. And so maybe for retail hospitality business services, some of the things you need to look at would be your gross profit margin. Hey, can I do something about my margin? Am I buying right? Are there discounts available potentially for paying for things a bit earlier? What's the average transaction value? In hospitality in particular, how can I turn a meal of, say, $26 into $29? And we'll show later on how much of a difference that makes. The average transaction value is massive. Customers per day, that can be a measure, but you may be more clever and measure them by hour. A lot of software these days in point of sale systems will allow you to say, okay, well, between 4 and 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, we have a spike in customers. Let's recognise that and know that. The revenue per square metre. A lot of retail hospitality, we're paying rent. How are we using our space? We're going to look at service stations as a classic example. You can redefine the way that people walk up to the counter to send them past a lot more products. They don't have to walk straight to the counter. Does that change your revenue per square metre? Does that impact the average transaction value? Sales by type. It may be the type of sales you're looking to do. So you might be looking to do, let's stick with the service station. It may be your fuel versus your shop. What's the differences there? You might want to focus on one or the other. Conversion rates. Now, this one can be really, really important in retail. So in retail, as opposed to just hospitality, let's talk general retail here. A business that sells something. You have a lot of people walk into your business, into the shop, but then how many walk out without actually purchasing? And it's important to know that number. So how can I know my conversion rate? How can I know the people that browse, that look, that then actually pick something up and pay us money? And salary is paid per dollar revenue. Critical. People are critical in your business, and therefore, how do you optimize the revenue you're receiving for every dollar of salary you're paid? So there's some examples. Now, as a business, you need to work out what works best for you. I've used a couple of examples here of retail, service station, hospitality, but this is where you work with someone to show you how can you do what works best for you and your business to help you achieve your budget. And a dashboard is critical to that because it doesn't always have to be actual dollars and cents. It can be things like customers and the like. And that's what we do with a lot of clients. We work on these aspects because this can be the difference. We'll show some real life examples shortly. The real difference between where you are now and where you're looking to get to. And so that really, generally speaking, started working with people. So I'll throw it to you, Michael. You can talk how we do that.
Excellent, thanks, Tim. And just reinforcing that each business is different, and the KPIs will be different. So talk to people, talk with your team if you've got that. So as Tim's saying, that look, it's great that we're in the car, we've got our dashboard, but sometimes you just need assistance. You can't drive flat out from here to Cairns in one go. Sometimes you may need a co-driver. And what we're talking about co-drivers here is just having someone to hold you to account for what you've committed to for your business. Yep. Who are we most likely to break a promise to? And there'll be a heap of different answers, but generally it's ourselves. We will give us the best get out of jail card and reasons as to why we did not achieve what we set out to achieve. So, but what are the consequences if you don't achieve those goals? Yeah, sure, you can make some up, but you really do need to have someone to hold you to account. And are they going to be, in our world, a soft coach or a hard coach? Really important, a distinction there is you potentially don't want someone to say, there, it's all good. You need someone to really stretch you, not break you, but stretch you. The 5 A's of change, if you can recall that, one of them was accountability. So having someone independent, that's the key. Please don't. It doesn't generally work to have your spouse as holding you to account. Independence is the key there. So in summary, if your business is the vehicle that's going to deliver to you what you want out of your business, and at the moment it could be just surviving if you're in, but others, it could be thriving. We are seeing a very big cross-section of results due to COVID. So if your business is going to be giving you that, though, there are 4 things you need to do to make sure you get to your destination. Firstly, set that annual plan. If you haven't got it, please get it. We'll get one, and you may just have to tweak it. Number 2 is set an annual budget. Tim went through that about how to set that budget. Number 3, set and measure those 4 to 5 most important KPIs. Don't have too many. Just make sure you pick 4 to 5 really important ones. And finally, as I've said before, please have someone to hold you to account to get you through. Failure to implement is not an option. Okay, we're going to get into the 7 ways to grow your business, but just quickly, I would like to show you something called the marketing flywheel. And I'm going to say up front, this is not something new to most people in business. But the reason we put it up here is that we could be talking and you're listening, but a lot of people, there's 3 different modes of learning, as people might know. There's listening, there's seeing, and then there's kinesthetic or doing. So we're going to show a bit of visual learning here about the marketing flywheel. So this concept shows us how to attract and engage and ultimately delight our customers or clients. And it demonstrates that we shouldn't just focus on gaining new customers, but we should be really looking after and delighting our current customers. So first of all, we have strangers. Now, these are people who haven't heard about our business, and we can do some marketing to introduce our business to these strangers. And then maybe they'll become prospects where they have the opportunity to buy from us. Now, when these prospects do make a purchase, they become customers. And if we treat them right and look after them, these customers will become our promoters. The more promoters we have, the more people we have to speak to the strangers that are out there. And so the cycle continues. It's not rocket science, but it's just common sense, sometimes not applied. Now, in order to attract prospects to our business, we need to provide value before we extract any value from them or any money. So think about what they'll get from doing business with you and the problems you can solve. Anyone who's done a sales course will know that the 4 types of selling, a problem solver or a solution provider is the most effective. So to convert prospects into customers, we've got to engage with them by make it as easy as possible for them to buy from us. Our marketing is what attracts and engages the prospects, and then we, our conversion and our techniques, turn those prospects into customers. Our sales processes should ensure that our customers continue after they've bought to be engaged and are followed up with really good service. Delighted customers will share their feedback. I'm not teaching anything new here, you know this. And they in turn will create more prospects and customers and promoters. So the aim, of course, is just keep this marketing flywheel spinning as fast as possible, converting more strangers into prospects into customers, and providing great service. They become promoters. Now, following this process and keeping in mind is essential to growing your business or getting it on track or keeping the doors open, whatever it may be for you at this stage. Okay, so let's get into the 7 ways to grow your business. Number 1, increasing your customer retention rate. Now, it's common knowledge that it's so much cheaper to make a sale to an existing customer than it is to a new one. And I think the stats are around, it's about 6 times easier and cheaper to make sales to existing customers. So by delighting and really looking after my customers, we make them want to return and increasing our retention rate. So ask yourself, what am I doing to delight my customers? We follow a very simple principle called the FGG principle in relation to delighting our customers. It's really just find out what they want, go and get it, and give it to them. Pretty simple, but sometimes overlooked. Second way to grow our business is to generate more leads. Now, obviously, we went through the best way to generate more leads is to delight your customers so they become promoters. But you can't purely rely on existing customers to do your marketing for you. So you've got to attract some strangers using different marketing strategies, and it could be free downloads and websites or trial periods or initial consultation free or try this food. Show them the problems that you'll solve or the solutions you'll provide to engage them in more services that you provide. Third way to grow your business, increase your conversion rate. And Tim touched on that in the KPIs. Do you measure how successful you are at converting your leads or your quotes or people walking through your door? And do you regularly review why you're not converting more? If you've got a sales team or just a team in general, and everyone's in sales, to be honest, we know that, are some performing better than others? Can we learn from the ones who are converting and get them to teach the team that aren't? Now, anyone who's ever put proposals together, this is more for your sales, I suppose, is that you've got to deal with the decision maker, not the gatekeeper. So that is one way of increasing your conversion rate. Also, provide a range of options. So the question becomes from any prospect, which option should I buy rather than should I buy? The fourth way to grow your business, increase transaction frequency. And as I said, it's much harder to sell to a new customer generally than it is to sell to existing customers. Depends on your business to some degree, but generally that's the case. So it makes sense to encourage those customers to buy from you more often. Do you have loyalty cards and VIP cards and special offerings and things like that? Reminders, all those things help to increase the transaction frequency. Now, I'm going through this very quickly, and we've got examples that we can talk to you later on about delving into each one of those in more detail, but we're keeping this pretty high level at the moment. The fifth way to grow your business, increase the transaction value. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean increasing your prices. Think about how you could add more value to your customers. As I said, can you provide them with a range of options so they could value stack and add to the offering? Is it clear what your business offers? Don't assume they already know. Tell them. I mean, I don't have to tell you, though, that increasing the transaction value, the greatest exponent of that was of course, Macca's. Would you like fries with that? They asked the question. Also, try not to discount unless the customer purchases add-ons or increases their purchase stack, if it was what we call it. Try not to discount because the impact that it has on your gross margin and your bottom line is profound. And we can actually, in another session, run through those numbers with you. Sixth way to grow your business is to reduce your variable costs. Now, as Tim touched on, these are the costs that increase as your sales increase, such as direct labor and materials and sales commissions. So implementing better systems to accurately record the time and materials used, as well as maybe implementing some strategies to reduce rework and wastage, especially in hospitality, they'll help reduce your variable costs. And the final way to grow your business is to reduce your overheads. Now, these are your fixed costs, like your phone, your power, your rent, your office supplies. How often do you review those overheads? It should be done at least annually, but if you haven't gone through line by line your profit and loss and said, how can I reduce those? Please, now's the time to do that. You should be able to negotiate better terms for utilities and rent. So they are the 7 ways. So what I'd like to do now is ask Tim to produce a graphical image of the growth equation and run through some numbers. So Tim, over to you.
Thanks, Mark. And the growth equation really is the cornerstone of what we've been talking about. Where this just shows you the actual numbers that come out of the actions. So these are numbers, actions are critical. Let's imagine this business. There's existing customers of 765 customers and a retention rate of 85%. So 85% of people come back to that business on an annual basis and they retain therefore 650 customers. Let's say there's 145 leads or inquiries. There might be people who walk into the shop, they maybe will have a meal, they'll consider having a meal. They call 50% of those are converted to new customers. And therefore you've got 73 new customers, bringing your total customers to 723. Let's say the transactions per year, 1.1 on average. So obviously you can't have a 0.1, but 11 transactions per 10 people per year. And the transaction value is 1,560 on average. Remember, we're just talking about here a mythical business, but the concept is what I want you to grab hold of. Don't be fussed by the numbers themselves. When we go through in a moment, really grab hold of the concept. The annual sales are 1.24 million. Let's say cost of sales are 70%, expenses are $265,000, it's the overheads, and that business therefore has a net profit of $107,000 per annum. And if it's a type of business that can be valued and sold as a going concern, let's say the valuation model was 3 times, the business is worth $321,000. Now, that doesn't apply to all businesses, but certainly in retail hospitality, there is an option there of selling the business at some stage, based upon how someone could potentially walk into the business and have it systemized without relying on the one person. So this business here is going okay. It's not going terrible. What we want to show you on the next screen here is just how a series of small changes can make a significant difference. And we're going to show you a couple of things that go backwards as part of that example. So the same business, but now let's retain 90% of our customers from year to year. So let's do VIP cards. Let's do birthday clubs. Let's do whatever it is to retain those customers. And there are hundreds of ways to increase that retention rate. But let's say right now the leads and inquiries haven't improved. And it's actual fact the conversion rate has gone down. So we want to show that it's not all beer and Skittles. Nothing is perfect because we didn't put attention into that area. So in that case, we've been focusing on other areas of the business, let this one go, and sort of gone backwards a little bit. So we've only got 65 new customers, but we've still got, in this case, 754 total customers. So one of the things to learn straight away here is to learn which levers will make the biggest impact to your business. Even though the conversion rate has gone down, even though the leads haven't changed, by the retention rate going up in this particular case, they've actually increased their total number of customers from 723 to 754. The transactions per year. Now here's where the focus was being. So they focused on increasing the transactions per year. We said before, there's 11 per 10 people. Well, now there's 13 per 10 people. How that is would have been through potentially offers to bring them back more regularly. Maybe some sort of special promotion and the like. But they got people to come back into the business and actually do a transaction with them increased from 1.1 per year on average to 1.3 per year. At the same time, the increase in transaction value. Now, that might have been through low-end offers. So it might be, say, hospitality, find something that is below cost to you and add that at a reasonable price to the transaction. But all of a sudden, you're moving the transaction value from $1,560 up to $1,600. Those changes alone, look at the change. The sales have gone from 1.24 to 1.567. Again, don't get hung up on the numbers, but the concept of a series of small changes makes a massive difference to the end result. Let's say they improve their cost of sales. They decided to go and do some better terms and the like. They got their cost of sales from 70% down to 65%, but nothing comes to nothing. It costs them some money to actually go and do this. They might have to engage some support and the like. They might have to have some people come in, extra hands on the ground, whatever it takes. And the expenses actually went up from 265 to 300,000. And we do see that a bit, is that sometimes to actually invest into your business, it's not a cost, it's an investment. And that would be the challenge always is, am I spending this money as an investment or is it a cost? So they've invested an extra 35,000. Now what they might have actually done is reduce some of their costs by say 15,000 and invested 50,000 to actually improve their business. Let's see how this appears. The net profit now has gone from 107,000 to 248,000. The valuation, if that's a possibility, has gone from 321 to 746. And you can see there, 141,000 extra profit per year, more than doubled their profit, and the value has increased by $424,000. So absolutely worthwhile working your way through a series of small changes and not always everything being positive. But if you focus on some of these changes, there's 7 different ways. For most people in business, you're not going to be able to focus on all 7 at once. You can focus on 1, 2, 3, 5, whichever works best for you, and try to grow the business. But you can see how much the power of 1%ers and the power of small changes as you go through this type of business change, which is a reality now. Not always possible to increase every number, but it may be the difference between reducing a number by 10% and reducing by 6%. So there you can see that that's the equation. And we use that a lot with our clients as a roadmap on how to get from that now we are now to the point where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point there, Tim. And it was remiss of me, but generally when we start that conversation, I ask people who are listening to replace the mindset of one of those 7 that doesn't apply to me. Replace that mindset with how can I apply that to my business? So thanks, Tim. Good to get a visual on that. So as I said, the very beginning of this session, you would now have to make a decision as to what you're going to do. After having seen all that, are you going to, do nothing and say, yeah, nice webinar. I know I've probably got to do a couple of things differently, but change seems a bit hard. Secondly, you can maybe look at it and go, look, well, when I say retreat, we might try a couple of things, but after a couple of bad days in the business, we just keep going back to the way we used to always operate. That's the second option. You take normal amounts of action where, look, I do a few of the easier things, some of the low-bearing fruit, get some quick cash flow improvements, but have I really fundamentally changed the business? And will therefore those quick wins, will they just evaporate along with the cash? Hopefully not. Or you can take massive amounts of action and say, look, I fundamentally want to change my business, because I want you to remember that your business is there to serve you, not the other way around. You must get that into your mindset. So there is another old saying, not from Albert there, but if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. I'm not quite sure that applies anymore, because with our competitors doing different things because they have to, because COVID's forced it on them as well, and also because they want to. If we just keep doing what we've always done, I don't think we'll get the same results. I think we'll get less. That's just my opinion. And as Albert says there, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So that's basically it. Up to you. How can we help you? Look, we've got a couple of offers there. Business planning. If you've got a business plan, fantastic. If you have it, or maybe just need tweaking, please just let us know. We can come up with, I suppose, a cost or a price to help you out there. Our quarterly performance sessions, 320. I was actually thinking about it before that we understand that retail and hospitality have really been hit hard. So just ignore that figure there for the moment and just let's have a chat around how we can help you. And growth equations, example snapshots. We can give you the snapshots that Tim just went through just to refresh your memory. Not a problem. Please just email the link that Tim would have sent out. And because you've taken the time out of the day to listen to us, we're prepared to give you a complimentary meeting free, whether it be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, even just to have a chat, to see where you're at, to see what your next steps can be. So we understand that we're business people in the community as well. It's tough out there. So if we can help you, please, we'd love to do so. So before we go, please just make a simple plan today. Commit to 3 actions that you'll take as a result of today's webinar. Write them down. Do not FTI, fail to implement. Give each of those owners, those actions, an owner, and put a date next to them. And remember, if you need our support, we're here. I'm not quite sure, Tim, if we've got any questions that have been sent through.
Yeah, there's no questions here at the moment, but one thing I do want to ask you, Michael, you experienced the SBA, is where someone feels helpless in business, is there ways they can get past that? Is there ways that in their own mind how they can take responsibility or ownership for the position they're in at the moment?
Great question. You mentioned at the outset, Tim, that I'm involved with the Sunbury Business Association, and through that, we've got a couple of networking groups. And you know what? Even though I'm working in this industry, the ability to get in there and talk with someone and bounce ideas and just be able to vent, being in business can be very, very lonely. We business owners, unless I'm very lucky, I've got obviously a co-director and we've got some key personnel in our business that I can bounce ideas off, but we still go outside our work environment and talk to coaches. We talk to similar other accountants. We talk to other businesses. So to me, that feeling of helplessness, Tim, is you go to others outside for help, but essentially, talk to your accountant. I think talk it through. You've got to be able to have a bit like at the moment. I've been a little bit critical because of some of our governments at the moment. Doesn't appear to be a roadmap. Well, talk to us, because Tim, you went through a roadmap before, the now, where, how, and working out what has to be done to get there. So talking to people and developing your roadmap, to me, is the biggest way to get over that feeling of helplessness. So hopefully that helps.
Absolutely, that's a great thought, and so we can take on board.
Yep. So, look, for me, and thanks, Tim, for putting this on, and thanks everyone for being here. But certainly, Jim Rohn's here about success. Whether it's success is different for a lot of people. At the moment, success could be just surviving, getting through the pandemic and opening up again at some stage. But for others, as we said, success is, some are going okay. But no matter what success is to you, it's just consistently applying basic fundamentals. Sometimes we overcomplicate things. Work out the basics of your business and work out the critical drivers that you need to be looking at to achieve your results, and consistently apply those things. So that's it from me, Tim, and I think thank you for everyone who came on board, and I'll pass it back to you to finish up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. Again, a great session. And just for those on the line, and for those, and also for people you know, we're running these sessions. We're running 4 a month at the moment, so you'll get information about that. Encourage people to jump online for 45 minutes to an hour. We hope we give some thoughts. We hope you give one distinction. So, what I really would love everyone on the line to do, just for your own benefit today, is to write down what are the 2 distinctions that you took out today. So, there's a lot of stuff we've said you would have already known. There's no worries about that. You know you've got to have loyalty clubs. You know you've got to have birthday clubs, that sort of stuff. We know we want people to spend more money with us. But really, when you think about it, what was the thing that made me went, okay, that's actually pretty cool. That is what we want to get at today. We want to create little distinctions and try to help you to help yourself with your business, because Michael touched on the feeling of helplessness. And that was what's happening. We're feeling it for a lot of clients at the moment. We're feeling particularly in their retail and hospitality. And it's the opposite in other areas, other industries are really going well. So what we need to do for those is just look for those distinctions. What are the 2 absolutely golden moments? I can do something, and then take action. Law of results says you need to take some action. So again, thank you for spending time with us today. Thank you for Michael for all the effort you put in actually putting this together. As I mentioned, Michael's got a wealth of experience dealing with retail businesses and the like. So if you'd like, please feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to work with you in the months to come ahead and years. Let's hope that, because this will actually, there will be some sort of roadmap out, and whether we create it ourselves or it's created for us, let's get involved, because the best way we can do is to move forward as a team and together. So thank you very much today. Thank you to Michael, and everyone, wish you all the best for the rest of the day.